See if OBS will... This is so confusing. All right. Aha. This looks like I've got microphone on. Okay. Can you hear my voice now? Let me know. Still testing sound. Are we? Can anybody in stream hear me? Okay, cool. It sounds like we've got sound now. So yeah, while I was fiddling with sound, presumably, setting up synchronize. So this will start synchronizing my local site to this global witch.farm. Actually, let's make sure I don't have too much garbage in here. Yep. Some test icons that I have left over from another project. These are all just Creative Commons or public domain images that can be used as test files for things like avatar icons. Okay, well, while that's going, let's start to build a site. And you can see that we've got this live here on witch.farm. Let me switch back to... So that up, move that here, that up. Okay, cool. It's nice for me to have like a little picture-in-picture of myself talking, otherwise it's kind of like weird to talk just to an empty stream. Okay, so let's see. I haven't like prepared anything particular for this. I just set up a like a little bit of empty file kind of stuff. So if I go to index.html, so here's index.html. I've actually got just a bunch of old Artbot Club stuff in here, so let's scrape that out real quick. Well, we will eventually need Artbot, so and it is okay for you to see like this stuff here in this Firebase config. That is, as designed, that is okay to put Firebase stuff publicly in your HTML. This is not a bad thing. All right, so yeah, if I'd been smart about this, I would have like written out. I have my whiteboard here. I would have like written out all the things that I need to do to build a social media site. So we'll just kind of wing this. Again, I'm still learning streaming. I think one thing that I've learned is that I really should like write down my game plan. I should ask Daniel Schiffman about this. He has got like a really crisp streaming kind of practice. So yeah, let's just for the moment, let's find out how to put some character on the, or like some information on the screen. So I've loaded Vue here. I'm just going to use Vue because that makes things like a little bit simpler. Vue is a library / framework. I just use it as a library that allows you to make divs auto update with state, which is super handy. I'm going to steal a lot of this from a previous my current artbot.club site. So let's steal some things. All right. Always forget what the like listen event is for listen to when the page loads. So this is going to listen to when the page loads and say, all right. And it says hello. That's great. So we at least have a web page now. I also want to make a view thing. So I'm going to put when you load, I want you to create a new little view controller there. It has an element and a template. So this is all just view stuff. This is not terribly complex. You're just making a little template in here. It's like div, some other div, say hello. And if I have, let's see, do I have a main app? Sorry, I'm like both over and under caffeinated today, so bear with me. Okay, that's the wrong folder. Witch farm. Okay, now I've got at least most of my files going here. So I've got my index, IO, where I'll just put some like data loading infrastructure, and app.js, which is where I'll make my app. So do I have, okay, I do have a main app. So if I run this, this should add this template to this main app. And look, it has in fact added this template to the main app. Okay, so let's think about a little bit about what we need for a social network. So a social network, we're going to need a couple of things. Probably some users. Here, I'm just writing on my little pocket whiteboard. I need users and, let's say, messages. So we're going to have two things in the social network. We're going to have some people on it. So there's a concept of people, and then there's a concept of messages that users might post or send to each other. This is kind of like, this is a minimum viable product social network. I also have no idea how long it's going to take me to build this. Like, I haven't tried to just like sit down and hammer one of these things out before. But I think the first thing we're going to need is a concept of, oops, sorry, I keep closing the wrong sites. It would really be a lot easier if I had multiple monitors. All right. So yeah, and I'm going to grab a tissue real quick. Welcome to cold season. Yeah, okay, so we want some users, so we're going to make some sort of data structure for users. I'll go ahead and put this in a separate thing. And then import it over here. And our users in this case are going to be witches. I'm building a witch-based social network so that everybody can hang out as witches. So this is why it's witch.farm. So I can say function user, so I'm going to create a JavaScript object. And this just makes some random user. Some interesting properties of a user are this dot name equals some witch. Say this dot familiar cat. And this is kind of all we need for the moment. So we're going to have some user. We're going to hopefully, like, when the user logs in, call some function. So there'll be some authorized user. And we're going to set some amount of stuff in this to what we know about that authorized user. Okay, so I've got this, so maybe now I'll just create a base user. So this will create a user. I'll add this to the data that the Vue app knows about. And now I can say, hello, user.name. Yep, hello, some witch. So we have a user, they have a name. We can say, hello, some user, I like your user.familiar. Okay, cool. We can build out some other stuff, so maybe set this to make a div up here. It's like the greeting div. And then maybe we'll have a controls div down here. If you're curious about Vue, I did a live stream of an idle game speedrun using Vue, and you can go back and look at that and learn a little bit more about what's going on with Vue. But it's really just you're writing HTML in some large section and then adding templates for what goes into that section. All right, so this will be the part where we like do controls. So maybe I'll want a button. This button just says cackle. And if you click on that button, and I'll create some methods. I do the cackle, this is a function. And eventually I'll want this function to like post my cackle to the live site, but for right now, let's say console.log. This.user.name. Alright, so hopefully I should be able to mash this button now and see, in fact, we are cackling. So this is not an online social network right now, but we can be a witch and we can cackle as much as we want. Alright, let's start creating some authorization stuff, some Firebase stuff. Like, who are we, and how do we talk to other people on this website? So a few years ago, this would have really sucked. You would have started learning about MongoDB databases and how to run a node server. So you could you have, for those who aren't familiar with like back-end coding, this stuff used to terrify me, and it really still does. You have some web page, and this web page makes requests to some server that is making some requests to some database, and you have to pay attention to is this request viable? Are they allowed to make this request? Are they going to overwrite your database? Are they going to run weird code on your node server? Node itself has to be written in it's JavaScript, and that made things a lot easier, but it has to be written in a fancy kind of JavaScript and talk to things like Express that make it easier to run and handle requests. And it was all a total mess. Better than anything that came before it, but we've advanced even further, and now we have tools like Firebase. Firebase is a tool by Google. It's mostly excellent. The only downside to it is really it's a service by Google, so you never know if it's going to go down, and also Google has control of all of your data. So if that's the thing that freaks you out, Firebase might not be for you. But as far as a testing and learning tool, it's pretty great. Their documentation is it's like chef's kiss. It's so good. We'll try out some of that. But I can go to Firebase, and this should all be fairly safe. It doesn't accidentally show off login information or anything. If people start making accounts on this, we'll be able to see their accounts, but other than that, it doesn't matter. So we're going to add a project. So we're going to enter a project name. So it's going to be Witch Farm. You can see that I can't type today, which is I'm just real smart today. So this will be exciting. I do not, in fact, want Google Analytics. Thanks, no. It's currently creating this project. And yeah, I can go back to our site here and talk about how Firebase is set up. So Firebase, you import all their different JavaScript libraries, and the JavaScript libraries. Here, I'm just going to check and see if the stream is doing good. Okay, we got some. The stream still exists. Just kind of verifying that. I'm stream paranoid. Hi. technology is bad and it doesn't work. So I'm just going to assume that at any moment it's not working. So I just am going to trust but verify. All right, cool. Which farm is viable? So here we are now in our which farm console. This is pretty exciting. We can see we're on the Spark plan, which is not costing me any money. That's great. Hopefully it won't cost me any money, even if people are screwy and try to like make lots of accounts, which I don't think I will do. You'll have more interesting things to get up to, such as building your own social network that other people can screw with. We can see we've got a database here. So I can create a database. Yes. Yeah, we'll start off with like private by default. This is fine. I'm mostly clicking on buttons. Firebase is great. It's designed that if you click buttons like the idiot monkey you are, mostly things will work. And I really admire that as a design principle. So we're provisioning our cloud store. So this is going to be the place where we can store data. And like, what data might we want to store? Well, so when people come to log into our site, we're going to get data about who they are. But those are going to be things like, this is your Gmail address, this is your Google profile picture, and we might not want to use your Google account information as your witch identity. We're going to want to assign you a new witch sona so you can communicate as a cool witch. We don't want to say like, this is Kate Compton on Google. We want to say this is like Hildebrand of the Western Wastes, which is way cooler. So we're going to want to store our witch sonas. So let's start a collection. I could call it users like a normal human being, but I'm going to call it witch sonas because I'm a dork. So these are all of our witch sonas. And it wants me to add a first document. So I'm going to make a test witch. So we have a witch named Hildebrand. No other data at the moment. Creating. All right, you can see that we have our test witch, and we can change this. You can, in fact, go in and edit things. Now this witch is named Gertie. I can add another document. If you're familiar with other stuff, there's not, like, so depending on when you came to making database stuff, you might have come in the, like, MySQL era, you might have come in this, like, NoSQL era, and these are all different ways of storing data, and a lot of this comes down to, like, how rigorously structured is your data. You can see that I can add just all sorts of, like, stupid things, like bad test witch. She doesn't have a name. So, like, I'm not even following the, like, she doesn't have a name, she's nameless hag. This is all super weird. Like, I don't know if my database recognition software would be able to handle this, but that's okay. These are all just basically, like, big bags of JSON, so it's fine. We can figure out, like, what will happen with Mrs. Bad Data later. So yeah, like, now I have some witch sonas in my witch database. It'd be nice if we could, like, go back to our website and see a directory of all the witches currently, like, residing in the witch farm. So let's see if we can load data. This will be exciting. First, let's, like, look at our rules. We'll go back into this later. So yeah, so here are our rules. They give you rules versions, so you can, like, have versionings of your rules. This is pretty cool. I've never used the terminal emulator. That's probably pretty powerful. But right now it's saying, like, okay, so here's some database, and if the path that we're trying to access matches database documents, some stuff, allow rewrite if false. I'm trying to remember how any of this works. I'm going to look up some cheat codes. So Firestore. So Firestore is the name of the storage stuff. So Firestore recipes. And there's a bunch of, like, just people doing cookbooks for this. Like, So you want to read anything. So here's a service cloud firestorm. Okay, this is do not allow anything. So we're gonna paste this in instead. Okay, this was in fact what they already had. Oops. What the accent? Yeah. I'm bad at copy paste. All right, so copy. Paste. Okay. And allow read or write if true. So here we are in magical, no security land. Y'all can read and write from my database at any time if you're coming from one of the prescribed locations, which again, I'm going to show you something that is like deeply insecure, but honestly, there's only so much trouble you can get up to in Firestore. Like, please do not upload child pornography like during my stream. But we're going to save this for the moment. Okay. So now we can read and write stuff. Let's look at, actually we need to set up our project, I think, first. So project overview, let's see. Oh, do I need to add an app to get started? Okay, we'll add an app, which farm. So, oh, right. So you can have like a project that is all of your people on your social media network, and then you can have multiple apps. So you might have like, okay, here's my web app to do this thing. Here's this video game that also gets access to all this shared information and hosting stuff. Here's my mobile app that also gets access to all this. So you can have multiple apps that are all in one project and have access to this data. So yeah, So registering this. And again, look, this like idiot monkey can still make a social network. It's like, just copy this in. Like, click on this, hit copy. The only thing that's missing from here is just like a click to copy thing. Like, what am I? A person who can do hotkeys? So yeah, copying this, and then I'm going to paste it where it says at the bottom of my body tag. Throwing it over here, and we're going to paste it over here in the body tag. I had a bunch of stuff just so I could use this offline because I'm often not online when I'm developing because my backyard is a really nice place to work but it has no internet, so it's kind of handy to work offline even when I'm developing apps. All right, so here we are, presumably with our witch farm database, and we can try running that and seeing what complains on the console. Firebase already defined. Make sure it's only loaded once. Okay, I just had a bunch of other junk. Oh, this is from the previous one. I'll want to use Firestore because that's what I'm using for my storage. All right, cool. It's not complaining about anything. Let's see if we can grab some data. So I want to make a request, and I always forget how to do this, so I'm going to search for Firestore, get data, and we'll look at their awesome documentation. Get data with Cloud Firestore. Thanks. Examples, like, so here's a way to write some stuff, but we want to get stuff. So we'll just steal this. And I'm going to put this in IO, and I'm just going to make myself like a little directory of functions that I might want to use. So get witches is a function. It takes nothing and gets me all the witches that currently exist. My Sublime text is having trouble formatting stuff recently, so this is like slightly grubby, but it'll do. Let's see if I forgot anything. Okay, cool. So now I'll make something that says like, make a section for social, so you can see all the current witches. We'll put some local swamp friends here, and then I'll have a button. We'll fill in local swamp friends later. So here's a button, and when I click this button, I'm going to refresh our witches. Click equals I'm one of those console log developers. I never ever use a debugger. I just put more things in the console log. Alright, so this will, when you click this button, it's going to try to refresh all the witches, and then when it's got some information, it'll say, alright, so I can hit refresh witches, and it's going to tell me that the way that I set up this hastily pasted in thing is not actually valid, which is fine because I hastily pasted it in without actually reading anything. So yeah, we're getting data with Cloud Firestore. Oh right, we have to set up a database. Let's see. Manage data, structure data, get started. I think get started. Oh, let's see. I have to initialize all this stuff. Oh, DB is Firebase equals Cloud Firestore. And I think the initialization stuff already, yeah, this is all the initialization stuff. And now I can say, when you start, create a database. So let's see if that works. Okay, no such document. Cool, it's talking to Firebase. That's very exciting. And actually just to keep myself from being annoyed, I'm going to say we're going to create a function here that initializes my database and puts it into like a local scope. So set that up, and then when I'm ready to go, I'm going to say, like this is just basically preventing any race conditions. I don't know when everything loads. I don't know what Firebase is doing when it loads all of its JavaScript files. It's probably some complicated stuff that I don't want to deal with. So I'm going to say, like, when all of that is done, initialize IO. IO9. IO9 also being a really good website. Oh, I didn't put a comment in there. Okay, cool. All right, now hit refresh switches, and it's helpfully telling me that there's no such document, which is not surprising because I pasted in a request for things that are cities. Things that are cities, there are no cities in the swamp, there are only witches. So instead we want whatever I just called the witches. Let's look at our storage again. Database, by the way, is for things that are larger, so this is like images. Or wait, no. Storage is for images. Database is... They really helpfully have a storage and a database, and one of them is for large files like images, and one of them is for more of these like structured things like JavaScript witches. Okay, so I called it witch sonas because I'm helpful like that. So let's load some witch sonas. See if I can get all of the witch sonas. data, data once. That's setting data. This is getting something if you know the document's ID. Ooh, get multiple documents. This sounds good. So a document is basically like one page of information, and you can set yourself up so that you have like, okay, well, my which Sona, this user has a document which is like all of their text-based identities, and then maybe they've got like different spells that they've been working on. Each one of those is a different document, and so you can load just the page of the which Sona without having to load, videos or whatever else they've been working on. So okay, so here we go. We'll just copy it and paste this. We'll comment this out because this might be helpful later. So that's getting an individual document. This one is getting many documents, which is what we want. I like tabs. I'm one of those people. All right, well, there's some way to convert tabs to spaces and spaces to tabs, but I forget what it is. All right, so instead we're going to look at our which Sonas, and this lets you set a filter on who you want. So maybe I don't want all which Sonas, I just want anybody who has a minion that's a cat. We could do that, but I'm going to pause that for the moment, and let's see if we can just say, like, without this little filter, I just want you to get all the which Sonas. So let's see what this does. DB not, oh, right. So I said io.db. All right, cool. Look at that. It's got our data. So that's pretty thrilling. So anybody can request which data and get the which data. That's probably not actually what we want. Let's see if there's some way to restrict access to this. So project overview, settings, project settings. That sounds good. Which farm, app ID. Usually there's something that's like you are allowed to connect to this from certain places. But I've forgotten what it is. Oh, I think anybody's allowed to connect to this, and it's authentication where we start to see things like you can only use this authentication from certain locations. You're not allowed to authenticate from just anywhere. So yeah, okay. Let's quickly put our witches in our visualization. So we have some local swamp friends. And I could say, okay, I want my cached witches to be some array. And when you respond to this, set the, so this will set my cached witches to the witches that I just found. And then for each of my witch friends, this is a V for witch and witches. I'm going to be misspelling that a lot. Oh, and it's cached witches. So I've got, let's see, yep, there's not a lot in each of these. Oh, and I didn't actually respond to with the witches that I found. So I'm not calling that callback just yet, but I will say, like, So this should put like a little div with the witch's name. Let's do a callback from when we get that stuff. Okay, so for each of these things, okay, so if you correctly got this data, I want you to do something with it. If not, you're going to output an error. Okay, so, oh, hey, Mel. Okay. So instead of just like outputting that down there to the console, we're going to instead use our callback. So I give it a callback. And I'm going to say, I want you to call back with an array of the witches that you found. So let's see, for each of these things, turn that into a thing. So this is like an iterator. So I need to say like, found this. Data is a function that takes that snapshot and returns the data inside of it, which is complex, but probably useful for something. And then I can call back with found. So hopefully this should initialize found for each of the documents that it's found, push that document to it, and then call back. So let's find out. Refresh my witches. Aha! Look, we have some local swamp friends. So we now have at least the beginnings of a social site. Let's just drop a little bit of CSS onto that so it's a little more readable. CSS, farms, CSS, page, just a bunch of junk that I often use for things. I'm just going to make a section for witch stylings. Said it's witch card. Okay. Dot witch card. Give it background color. Add a box shadow. Again, still scale. Okay, now we've got some like witches, and I can say like okay, now I've got some witches. Increase that shadow a little bit. Okay, so we've got some witches appearing. That's pretty great. Now we should be able to make our own witch and upload her to the database. So we're going to create some, oh, the left side of the witch is cut off a little. Okay, resize. Actually, I'll just extend OBS. Oh. There we go. That should fix it. Let's find out. I'm in a time loop here. Okay, looks like that fixed it. So yeah, OBS was just hiding things. So you can in fact see that I can refresh witches. Refresh witches. Okay, getting all our witches. So let's try authorization, because this is one of the like really traditionally gnarly things from running a social media site. How do you verify that people are who they say they are? How do you store like passwords? Like, what's the safest way to store passwords? Should you salt things? Should you hash things? What is salt and what is hash? Most people can't do security right because it turns out security is really hard, and so it's best to just like, unless you are really into security for your own purposes, just let somebody who is competent handle the security. So that's what Firebase is good for. So we're going to add in a sign-in method so that people can sign in. And for right now, we'll enable users and passwords. So we'll enable just like password sign-ins. So save. Okay, so we've got email and password, and I'll go ahead and also Let's see. And we won't do Google for the moment just because I don't know if any of that is like secret information that I need to hide. But you can like, well, let's find out. Support email is me. Let's see, web SDK. All right. We'll see. I'll probably end up I'll turn that off in just a moment. Enable. So theoretically, Google is now enabled. Let's find out. Okay, so if I want to now do login stuff, let's see. This tells me how many people I've done. This is, you can set up custom stuff to send to your users. And I'm going to use the Firebase widget to do my login. So Firebase. Here we go. Firebase UI, that's what it's called. So I can say, okay, hey, Firebase UI. I'm going to put this in the head tag. Actually, I'm going to turn off the Google login just because I think there was like a private thing on there. So I want to make sure now that I've revealed that to the stream, I don't want anybody to actually get up to shenanigans. We can turn that off later if we want to see it working. Yeah, I know it'll stop people from logging in. That's fine. All right. Okay. So we're going to add this to the header. Copy. Oh, and I already have it in there because this is, again, stolen from another thing where I also built a social network. So hopefully this should create the CSS and the code for all the Firebase UI stuff that I want to do. This is going to allow us to have just like a fun little widget. Let's see. So now I initialize the Firebase UI. Maybe I can do that here where I'm initializing other stuff. Yeah. There should be something where I make a little widget and tell it where the widget should actually be. Okay, here we go. Render the thingy. I'm going to do that on probably a lot of places I could put it. I'm going to do it when I mount this component. So mounting is a step in Vue where after all the stuff has been built out in the DOM and then mounted in the DOM, it'll call this function in whatever it needs to do. Just because I want to show you the widget because it's really cute. Start this widget on something that has this ID. What is UI config? Okay, here we go. Look, it's a bunch of stuff that I'm going to uncritically paste in because I'm a safety girl. Okay. We'll examine all this later. And everybody in stream can sweat because I'm mixing tabs and spaces here. All right, so UI config, and then we need something with this as an ID. So for the moment, we'll just add something here. It's like, poor divs everywhere. So here's some container. We're putting in its own little div. Firebase auth is not a function. I think I need to enable that component somewhere, which I'm going to make a guess is somewhere in these services that I'm asking for. Let's find out if this is the one. Let's just type random things and see what happens. All right. Did it in fact do the auth thing? Oh, I didn't start the. Wait, did I? Oh, mounted instead of mount. There we go. All right, so it's mounted. It's looked in here. I mislabeled something. UI is in app 39. Oh, right. Called, added that start widget. All right, and look, here we've got this cool little widgety thing. It's complaining about some things. IO25, let's find out what it's complaining about. Find style of no. Loader, style display, I don't even know what this is talking about. We're gonna just comment this out because I don't know what you want from me. Oh, I see. These are callbacks. So this is a callback if it's shown the widget, which I don't really care about. This one I care about because it's sign-in success with auth results. This is saying, like, you have signed in. Congratulations. So if somebody successfully signs in, I'm just going to output to the log. Yeah. Then you can set up all of these different like auth providers. So sign-in options, you say, I want you to be able to sign in with like every different kind of thingy. So you can see you can sign in with Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, email, phone. There's like literally a dozen or so more of these things. So if you are like just deeply into Reddit and you want people to be able to sign in with their Reddit accounts or whatever arbitrary other things, I think there's like Yahoo. Actually, let's look and see what all the super bizarre things that you can set authentication to be. So among our sign-in methods, yep, you can in fact sign in with your Yahoo account because this is cool. Game Center, Play Games, Apple, and Anonymous, which is an interesting one that we can talk about later. That's where it basically like assigns your current computer to a temporary unique ID and says, well, you haven't logged in, but I know enough about your computer to be able to follow it around usefully, and so we can use that as like a temporary ID even though you're not like authenticated. So yeah, we can see what happens if I sign in with email. So let's sign in with my email. I could actually make like a temporary thing, but I am too lazy. Ooh, I'll use my artbot.club test account. So test0.artbot.club. I made a bunch of test emails while I was working on Artbot Club. Which is named as Botwitch. Let's make a password. Debug password, super secure. Ooh, cool, file name. As we can see, it's trying to redirect us to a URL on success. I remember this bit now. See, this is why I'm doing this again, is because this happened to me like 4 weeks ago, and it took me a really long time to figure out what the heck was going on. We in fact don't want to redirect to a URL on success. This would be like if you want to move your user from your login page to some like custom page on the inside. I don't in fact want a signing success URL. Let's see what my other options are. It needs to tell me like what my options are. This is the first time that it has not been a great documentation experience. This was a little bit hard to find. Oh, even when false is returned in a callback. This is 2016 though. Signing success callback return false. Let's see if we can just like comment it out and see what happens. All right, okay. No redirect URL has been found. You must either specify a success sign-in, pass in a redirect, or return false from the callback. Aha, that's what we're missing. So yeah, it is, in fact, telling you some useful information in that little thing. So like this is Firebase doing a pretty good job. The only thing that I'd like is like if this thing also pops up like a little URL that I can click on for more information. But again, this is an A- attempt from an A+ student. Otherwise, it would be like pretty excellent. Sign with email. Oh, hey, we signed in, so that's pretty exciting. So there's presumably some like OAuth account that exists that is signed in. Let's find out if that's true. So authentication. Hey, what's been going on? Wow, look, I have a user. So you should be able to actually go to, oh, and this should be live updating now, so which.farm. So let's have a go at which.farm. Is it not auto updating? Okay. Loading which.farm? Nope. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now I'm at which.farm, and I can sign in with my email. Oh, and here it's like helpfully saying like, oh, and this was Google's account thingy saying like, hey, you've logged in with these things before. Let me just do an account manager thing. So that's all done by Google. No, I really do not want to add all of this to stuff. Okay, so now I should have even 2 different users. Refresh. All right, cool. Now I have a user who signed in over here and a user who signed in over here, and both of these have unique user IDs. So the unique IDs, so UIDs, this is the thing you're going to see in a lot of stuff if you ever developed like big hardware or like big projects, big software projects. There are unique IDs in games, there are unique IDs in server stuff, there are unique IDs in pretty much any time you're managing resources. And you want to be able to say like, this particular thing here and not any other thing. So these user IDs are going to be how we refer to our users, because you might want to have a user that like, signs in with one email address and then changes their email address and then changes their display name and then changes their username and changes everything about themselves. But we want to be able to still say like, it's still the same user underneath it all. Like this is an account ID basically. So yeah, let's look a little bit about what got returned in our social media site. we're now on the 1 hour mark, but I really want to just push this to the point where we can get users to log in, post a cackle, and see all the other widgets cackles, so that you folks following along at home can try cackling to your social media site. So you're welcome at this point to make an account on your Witch Sona thing and see what happens. Yeah. Okay. So what am I going to do? I'm going to look at my login stuff. So when I have successfully logged in, let's look at that auth result. And then I'll show you another utility that we can do here. Okay, so here's our user. So we've got some additional user info. What service did they use to sign in? So if you want to treat people differently if they come in with a Google ID or a password or Yahoo or whatever, give people a little congratulations banner if they're still using Yahoo, or really just use this for tracking where your users are coming from. We can ignore that for the most part, and look, here's our user. There's a bunch of horrifying garbage in here. You can kind of ignore this. You do, in fact, get their email address if they sign in with email. You get their display name. You get their photo URL if they've got one. So I'll try logging in with Google in a moment, and you can see my Google thing. So yeah, let's put some of this information into this witch that we got. So remember how I said we were going to have a witch. So here's a user, some witch. I'm going to be slightly data unclassy and move a lot of this stuff out here so I can refer to it from anywhere. So we'll do a slightly tacky global variable. And this way, when I can change appdata.currentUser when you log in. All right, so when you log in, what did I call this function? Set to auth user. Oh, and I want to set it up so that I can automatically log you in. So put a little cookie on your system so you can automatically re-log in, just because that's going to make our testing a lot easier. It's very silly for me to constantly have to go in, hit sign in with email just to change things. So whoops. Let me look up what that was on my other site. Too complicated. Let's Google it. Aha. Authentication state persistence. This is what we want. Set persistence. Okay, that sounds good. Yep, okay. I'm just going to copy this from the other thing because I set it up already. Just put that into the init. Such messy code. All right. Let's see if it likes this. So, oh, set auth user is not a function. Oh, because it's user.setUser. Oh wait, where am I? Oh, I'm in the wrong file. And that user, set to auth user. Okay, so let's sign in with email. Oh look, it actually did find us. It has found some user, so we have logged in with this user. Let's have our unique user ID. Yep, there we go. So let's set the data for this user. And we'll have like a little login, and then hopefully we can just like slam on through to doing a cackle, and then we'll call that stream. All right. See, actually, so yeah, we have display name, so we'll use display name. This is slightly tacky. All right, so, and I'll even say we're going to store the profile pic photo URL. Okay, so this should set our name to our display name and our UID to our UID. So if I go here and just make a little div, it's a little debug thing just to show us that our UID has changed. All right, cool. Look, we have logged in. So we have logged in. We have a unique user ID, and we have our display name. So I think we should do just one little quick thing before I go to cackling. So I want you to be able to change your name, because maybe you don't want everybody to know that you're secretly bot witch in this world. You want to like have your witch sona. So let's make a little button that says let's re-roll our witch sona. So I'll make a little dice. So here's a little dice that I can use. Okay. So I can hit this dice, and I want to be able to change my username. So every time I hit that button, I want to say at click equals roll my witch sona. I'm going to re-roll my user. So user.familiar. I need my utilities file. I have a bunch of like things that are frequently useful that I store in utilities. So I'm just going to put those in here. I think I'm already even loading them. So if I look at what is in that utilities file, it's mostly a bunch of like random stuff that I find interesting, but I have a bunch of like selected random stuff here. So one of them is I have a list of animals, so I can say my familiar is, okay, get random, utilities, words, animals. So this should change our familiar. Let's find out if it does. So, nope. User is not defined. App 54. Ah yes, this.user.reroll. That's the user undefined. Oh yeah, this.familiar. All right, cool. I have lots of different animals that can be my my familiar. I might even say that your familiar is, this is like bootleg tracery. I'm going to give you a colorful familiar. So yeah, now I have a pink zebra. So we've got lots of different familiars that we could have. And I maybe want a name too. Let's create a witch name generator real quick. Lazy person's way to write an array of names real quickly. Let's see, I've also got like random words here. Okay. Random witch names don't exist. What did I just call it? I'm starting to get tired, so let's see how fast we can end this out. All right. Fortunately, I always get too lost in creating random names. This is a known issue of doing cool generative content. Okay, cool. We've got like some randomly selected names, like Lay the Witch. All right. Yeah, what's going on? I'm currently just making a random witch name generator, so that we can like create some more interesting witch sonas. So I can show you how to save users. All right. So we now have you've changed your witch's ID and her familiar, but we're not saving any of that. So now we want to save this witch sona back to the site. So when you log in, we can say, okay, well, who is your witch sona, and repopulate it with that, even though your unique ID is not actually going to change. So every time we reroll, I want to io.save user. Actually, I won't do this here because this could be rerolling any witch. I don't really know. So when you reroll your witch sona, save the current user. And I'll show you some quick stuff about that. So who is our current user function? So it was, yeah. Oh, app data current user. So I can say, reroll this witch, and it's saying like, here's the things I know about this current user. So I can say, okay, this is my user, but what do I want to save about this? And then we can go here to, where was it? Database. Where's my tutorials? There we go. Yep. All right. So add and manage data. Add data, that sounds good. So we're going to write some stuff. Okay, so when you're writing database stuff to your database, you can either say, I want to set a particular, like maybe you have a data set that already has a unique ID that you're going to use. You can use that unique ID, but usually you don't have something. You just say like, I like create a new document. Let's see where that is. So I think it's add a document. Okay, yeah, here we go. So I'm going to say like, oh, here, I'm going to add or create this witch. Oh, so let's see. First we want to say, does this witch exist? So I can say, so first we want to read the data. So I might say, okay, is there currently data for this witch? Like, does this unique ID already have something? So let me just pseudocode this first. Oh, and actually, we do have a unique ID. So we have the ID that comes with our OAuth thing. So we're just going to use that data instead. So we don't even need to do this like add thing, because this will give us, that would be for something like messages where you don't need to have something already. Like create this message has clearly never existed before. So I can say if, let's see, where's that ref? So here's the witch sona thing. I'm actually just going to set io.witchref. So I can say witchref.set. So which after to get current user .uid. So this is going to say like, I'm going to create or set a record for this user that has their data in it. What is their data? This is the user. Yeah, it's just the user. All right, app.data to current user. This should set all the stuff we currently know about them. The one time we don't want to do this is if they're not logged in. So if so they shouldn't have a UID if they're not logged in. This is not like terribly clean, but this is just using like having a unique ID as shorthand for is logged in and has like an identity on this server. All right. Cool. Firebase error set with invalid data must be in. Oh, it was a custom user object, so I need to actually like. I forgot. Previously, how do I get? Previously, I had not done this as an object, and now I know why. I mean, my personal best is like 4 weeks, so we're doing all right so far. And I'm going to declare this to be a social network when you can log in, change your handle, and post a message, and other people can see your message. So that's going to be our like full loop. So really trying to actually make it through on this before somebody kicks me out of this phone booth. All right. Where was I? All right, I was saving the user. Set current user dot to save data. All right. So set that data. All right, let's see what this does. Let's find an exciting new error. Oh, it said it saved it. Let's find out if it did. Hey, witch farm, what current information do we have? Hey, look, we have a new date, like a new thing in our thing. So if we refresh our witches, we should see, yeah, we've got our new witch there. And if we change it to this exciting new name with a scarlet kangaroo, and we refresh our witches, you can see that, yes, we do in fact have this name logged in. So if I refresh this and it logged me in again, see, it's reusing my existing social media stuff, and we don't want it to do that. We want to say, when you log in, I want you to check and see if you have a record, and if you have that record, I want to use that record instead for your user information. So save current user, what was, oh yeah, set to auth user. So when I set this to an authorized user, like, sure, use that data if you can, but we're also going to try to get that information for this user. So how do we get information about a witch? Let's go over to this, and oh, this will be a good time to, instead of get all witches, so we want to get one witch. So we're going to get one witch. We'll assume that we know her unique ID. Okay, so oh, right, we can get individual docs. So I'll show you maybe later if we have time, although we probably won't, like how you would say, like, filter for all the other witches who have cats. So the document I want is the unique ID this. I'm going to give this a useful error, no witch found. So we can like test this without being logged in. Well, we can use our witch ref. All right. So from this witch ref, find the document with this unique ID, and then tell me if that document exists. So user36 logged in. Oh, right. Get individual witch. So what is that? User, set to auth user. Which witch are we going for? The one with this unique ID. All right, we've in fact found some data for this witch. So here's our data. I really like that witch name, so I'm not going to change it. Oh, we already set that off data. Hopefully that should be the same off data. All right, so we got a name and a familiar, and that's really all that a witch needs. So if I log in again, this should, aha, yep, we are this witch with our cool scarlet kangaroo. So that's pretty exciting. So we have now logged in successfully. We could do this with like any sorts of stuff that we want to have assigned for this witch. We could have which swamp she lives in, like her current reagents and herbs that she's gathered, who her friends are, all that stuff. So we could say like whatever we want to store in that witch Sona. Sounds good. Oh, let's give her a mood too. Just because this is what I've got in my giant bag of stuff. This is totally unnecessary and actually like distracting my stream, but I can't stop myself from doing more random generation. There's probably also a more elegant way to do this. Let's output our current mood. That's not our current mood. User.mood. All right. Wait, what's our mood? Oh yeah. So now our witches have moods, so you can like search for witches with particular moods. Okay, so Maureen is hopeful and has a carnation sheep. Let's start looking at our cackle feed. Let's create some cackles. So I want to start writing. Start making a post. So instead of, let's see, what was that? Save current user. I'm gonna do a post cackle. So I want who is cackling, a user, and some amount of cackle data. So maybe your cackle data is like your current mood plus a cackle. Like this is a hopeful cackle or a sad cackle or a wistful cackle. Okay. So if we are logged in, let's pretend that this is a decent version of like, are you currently logged in? Mostly because we can get Firebase to fail if they're not logged in. But we're currently wildly insecure, so anybody can post anything at any time. Actually, we don't even need the user because only the current user can post their cackle. All right, so we should save something. So let's make a cackle reference. And we're going to need to make a new collection of cackles. So the oh, and that didn't actually have a unique ID, mostly because it's posted from nowhere. But our future ones will have unique IDs telling you like who authored this cackle. So now let's make a feed of all of my cackles, and it'll be just like our witch feed. So here are all of our current witches. I'm gonna make these a little bit more visible. All right, so we've got some information, some information, some information. Suppose I could do multiple columns, but this is already getting kind of complex. I should do multiple columns. Here I'm just adding a little bit of layout to this app so that I have room for everything on screen. It's going to be by far my longest thing. I think we're going to end up at pretty much 1 hour, or sorry, 2 hours for making this social network, which is not bad for a social network, I have to say. Okay, cool. We have some columns. I have screwed up something in formatting somewhere. Really wish it would tell me where. Oh, that looks like it. Okay, cool. I now have sort of 2 columns that I can use to put things in. Because next, yeah. So here's our local swamp friends. So what's on the cackle vision? Let's see, I can refresh cackles. I could just call this cackles, but I'm calling it cache cackles just because it's like useful to remind myself that this is a cache and not like a live version. So yeah, cache cackles. For each of our cackle, we might want to say cackle dot. All right, so who it's from, the unique ID of that cackle for reference, and the mood it was uttered in, and then the text of the cackle itself. All right, cool. Got lots of complaints that I haven't actually specified lots of these things, such as refresh cackles. So I'm just going to copy paste. All right. How many times can I type cackle before it has no meaning to me whatsoever? This many times. All right. I'm going to copy getting all our witches. Trash all the junk within. Resetting these references. Okay, so for everything in cackle ref, get it, get that snapshot. We're going to do that same thing with finding things and callbacks. Let's see if we can find some cackles. All right, IO 135. I probably forgot it. Yep, comma. All right. Woohoo! I have a cackle. So a cackle has happened. I'm going to automatically refresh my cackles just because, you know, that sounds classy. So when you start up, go ahead and get all those cackles. I want to see a live feed updating constantly. And yeah, I'm going to set these width of these witch cards to be something. Okay, a little more visible there. I'm going to make a cackle card that is not quite the same as witch card. Just because it has a slightly bluer background, that's going to be how exciting that is. Let's see. And witch card, cackle card. Okay, cool. We have an educational cackle, etc. Cool. That's from nobody in particular. So let's start you know, I'm currently cackling, but nothing is happening. So let's start to cackle to the cackle tweet or the cackle vision. So yeah. So instead of just doing a cackle, I'm going to say io dot what was it? Post cackle. So I want to post a cackle. What cackle do I want? Let's see, what was my cackle here? It's a unique ID, a mood. We don't know the unique ID yet, but our mood is going to be app. This.user.mood. Okay, so we're going to post in our current mood. The text is going to be give you a random chance to pet your familiar. I'm not even going to think about pronouns at the moment. Okay, so you have a chance of petting your familiar. All right, so I'm going to post a cackle with a mood and some text. And in here, I'm going to go ahead and assign, let's see, cackle data. Well, and I should say who it's from. So that would be nice. So, what do I say for from? I'll just say display name. So the display name is going to be my current name. This is going to be kind of crummy because if you change your name, your cackle's not going to get updated. So your current display name is this.user.name. What you'd really want to do here is like also say like, you know, this.author ID is this.user.uid. So that like when you go to display this cackle, possibly this witch has changed her name, so you take her user ID, which is not changed, use it to look up her current name and say, oh, Hildebrand is no longer Hildebrand, she is Moraine of the Forest. So we're going to say this tweet is from Moraine of the Forest. But currently we're just going to like hard code it in slightly awkwardly because we're running out of time. And I'm this close to finishing my social network. All right. So we're going to post our cackle. It's got this information. So we've got posting a cackle. Let's see what happens. So cackle. All right, cool. Post cackle IO40. Set data. Cackle data. All right. So some cackle's been found. I can cackle. I've posted a cackle. Let's see if I've actually posted a cackle. Just a test. Maybe I haven't properly posted that cackle yet. Oh, and maybe I'll just use the cackle UIDs when you load them. So get all of our cackles for each of those. What's in this cackle? Mood text. I don't actually have the unique ID in it. I guess I don't really need it. I don't really need the unique ID of these cackles unless I want them. So yeah, when you get a cackle, oh wait, posting a cackle, posting a cackle, cackle. Yeah, it has no meaning to me anymore. Oh no! I'm overwriting my witches with my cackle data. This is terrible. Let's find out what just happened. Like, have I destroyed my witch sonas? Yep, I in fact overwritten my witch sonas with cackle information. So that's no good. I did not in fact want to append that. I wanted to add cackle data. Where's that setting data? Manage data, add data, load. Set, oh, here we go. Yep, it's just .add. It's, again, really usable stuff. I'm a big fan. So witchref, oh, not witchref, cackle ref, .add, add that cackle data. And when you add it, I could say like, so try adding that, and then function, so say plug. All right, so this will hopefully we can re-roll our witch. So yeah, we've got a cool gray yeti, and let's see if I can cackle and emit a disillusioned cackle. Big mood. Verify that our witch sona. Yep, our witch sona is looking good. Our current cackles. yes, we have displayed a dissolution cackle. So if I refresh that, we do have a dissolution cackle. So let's pretend that this is no longer our user. Let's see if we can like send some cackles back and forth. I'm not going to @ anybody yet. We're just going to, because it's almost 2 hours, and we will call that done. So here's our witch farm, and yeah, y'all in the chat, feel free to make any final requests of what features are we missing. Oh, I'll show you a maybe how to do permissions, because currently this is the wild, wild west. If anybody can post anything and claim that it's from the witch that it's not actually from. So I could say, oh, like Hildebrand posted something, but Hildebrand didn't post that. That was just like Moraine posting as though she were Hildebrand. And you could start all sorts of terrible witch drama. And wouldn't that be terrible? All right. Oh, and I need to resync. So, gotta be an auto sync in here somewhere. Synchronize. All right, all synced. Hello, Witch Farm. Hello, Seattle. We are Witch Farm. There we go. Aha. Yep. So we are some other bot. We have logged in with who even knows. Yeah, we're Sith Yay, and we have a green cobra, and we are morose. So we can also cackle a bit. Oh, I think I want to refresh when you cackle. That would make a lot of sense. So once you have successfully cackled, I want you to io dot oh yeah. So here we're getting complicated because I don't like the way that I've done this. I'm in fact going to save cache witches and cackles up here so that I can modify these when I refresh stuff. Because otherwise I have to call refresh from somewhere in here, and it doesn't make. Actually, yeah, you can do that. I won't like post cackle. We'll just post the cackle, and then when you call back, then I want you to. So post cackle. When you have posted that cackle, I would like you to then say refresh those cackles. All right, so we got some cackles here. So many cackles. Ooh, somebody from Maya. I wonder who Maya is. That must be another one of our local witches. So hello, local witch Maya. So Tianis is going to post some more cackles. Mostly because I'm kind of hoping. Oh, yep, there's their. There's Tianis's cackle. There's another dissolution cackle. I want to pet my kraken or whatever it is that I have. I'm going to change the odds of petting your familiar. Not going to be a greater than 0 chance or greater than 50% chance of petting your familiar. Did I not? Yeah, I'll click this. What did I just cackle? Still a dissolution cackle. I really want you to pet your familiar. Let's give you a 100% chance of petting that familiar. Okay, I do pet the Great Yeti, so it was just because random number generators are difficult. So yeah, this is Witch.farm. We built this in the last 2 hours. Thank you very much. I'll show you just really quick how one would do witch security. So we'll do proper witch security in like 5 minutes. So yeah, all of my witches are posting whatever, and I want you to be able to like sign your cackle. So when you call your cackle data, author ID should be, and like you can post whatever you want on the like who it's from. So you can spoof the who it's from, but you can't spoof your author ID. So your author ID is equal to the app.currentuser.uid. And maybe I only want you to be able to post cackle data with an author ID that you own, that this believes that you own. So I will probably get this wrong just because I get it wrong each time. But let's see. So let's go to rules. And instead of everyone can post everything all the time, let's see. When in doubt, copy paste. User-based rules. I'm going to say it's something like this. So, complicated. Anyway, if you're going to do this properly, there's something about like allow if the author request ID something, something, something. But for right now, we're going to allow witch fraud because I'm really tired. And this was quite a stream. So thank you all so much for joining me on the stream. I do recommend that you actually do proper security. I'm doing proper security on artbot.club. Actually, you can flip over and look at the authentication on that one. So project overview. Where are all my projects? Firebase, Artbot Club. I'll show you an example of like rules that are written less terribly. So here's our database for Artbot Club, and this one isn't live yet. You can see all of my beautiful fake users. But if I look at rules, say, okay, so yeah, so here's something of, let's see, if you write to documents, you can read works if they are published. You can create them if your author ID is the same as the ID that or the ID that's listed as the author and the work that you're updating. Likewise, you can only delete a work if you are the author that is listed on that work. So if you upload a work, it checks to make sure that that is signed with your proper ID. And then if you want to delete a work, it's like, oh, do you have access to that work? And then likewise, you can write to users if their unique ID is the same as your unique ID. So you're allowed to write to your own profile, and anyone is allowed to read your profile. So you can see everyone is allowed to read everybody's profile. This is like the public profile. If you want to have private data, I've heard recommendations that you store that in a separate file structure because it's hard to do like partially visible stuff. Like if you read one document, you can pretty much read everything in that document. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me in Witch Sonas. I didn't get to like indexing or searching, but Firebase is really great about that. If you want to search witches by like what familiars they have, and you haven't built that index, it'll actually give you a little link in the console to tell you how to build that index. And you just click on it, and then you hit OK, and it builds the index for you. One thing that does not exist with Firebase is you can't search within text. So I can't say if I have, no time, but how would you let users log out? There is a little function that says log out in Firebase, and you could just do like set up whatever you'd like to bind that button to log out. So you can like log your users out if they're inactive for a certain amount of time, or you can log them out if they hit the logout button. Really, you can bind that to whatever you want. Yeah, so that's building a social media network. If you build your own social media site using this stream or just in general, ping me on Twitter. I'd love to see your shitpost of a site. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.